Let's get real for a second here. If your graphic design doesn't solve the problem in the brief or the project in general, then your design is pretty much useless. I'm being serious here. The magic or the actual essence of a graphic design isn't the aesthetics and how it looks. It's how it solves a problem the other end and how you can sell your design to the client. So let me ask you this question. Have you ever had a design that you absolutely fell in love with, something you created almost as your own baby, and then it got completely rejected and thrown away by the client? Yeah, I've been there too, and I'm sure most designers have. But here's the thing, you probably were rejected there, not because the design was lacking something, more probably that you didn't sell the design concepts efficiently enough. And that's what we're going to dive into in today's video. All right, let's talk about one of the biggest lies a graphic designer can tell themselves. That is, the design should and will sell itself. In the real world where real money is made, the design does not speak for itself. You should speak for your design. A client doesn't see grids, they don't see kerning, they mainly see how is this design going to solve a problem for me and how is it going to increase revenue, drive clicks, and so on. And so if you're not going to explain and demonstrate how your design does those things, well, the client probably would just think, hey, this is a pretty picture or this is a design and it's not for me, let's move on. Now think about this, you're someone who's designing a logo and that logo doesn't communicate the brand's values and it does not achieve the goals of the project. That logo is pretty much useless to many clients. And when the client says, why did you use this color? Or why is this color being used? And you say because it looks good or simply because it's actually prevalent in that niche of the client, that's not good enough either. And if this is how you are selling your logo designs or your designs in general, then you need to think again because you're not going to get a high approval rate on your designs. And so if a graphic design is not essentially mainly aesthetics, what is the job of the graphic design? What is the job of the things that you create? Well, essentially, it is just visual communication. It's there to solve a problem, to evoke a message, or inform someone about something. That's pretty much it. And so if your design is not solving a problem or doing these things, you're not designing well. To be blunt, that's how it is. Think about a billboard design. You got what, maybe 2 or 3 seconds as you drive past it to absorb the information and to be actually informed about something. The designer's job when designing a billboard is to make the message very clear at a very, very fast pace, or at the very least, plant a seed into the person so they remember it later. That is a perfect example and a very easy example to understand of how a design has a job and a purpose. And then take, for example, a website. A website isn't just meant to look good. It's meant to actually drive clicks, drive sales, and navigate people around the website itself. When you know the job or the goal of your design doesn't have to be the Mona Lisa of graphic design. It just has to fulfill its purpose the other end. But we do need to go a bit further than just that actually. Selling your design to the client. This is where all the money is made, and this is where you get that stamp of approval on your project. And I've taken this to be kind of an art form in of itself, trying to communicate why your design works and how it's going to benefit the client financially and just in business terms. You're not just showing your designs to a client, you're actually walking them through a journey of your process and explaining how it does solve the very problem they have right now. And here's how you do just that. Now, first, you have to communicate and remind the client of the problem. So maybe it's the fact that their brand is simply outdated or their product package design just kind of merges into the background and falls lost on every other design out there. Whatever it is, clearly and pretty quickly just discuss and explain what the problem or problems are and why your design is going to solve those problems. Next, you've actually got to show and demonstrate how your design solves those problems. So maybe the new, fresh, bold approach to the brand uplifts it and actually competes in its niche. Or maybe the color scheme just now makes that product stand out and is more distinguished against other competitors on the shelf in the store. And this, of course, will lead to more sales and more notoriety for the brand. Simply just connect the dots and easily show them how your design is going to effectively solve those problems and how it's going to benefit them financially and in terms of their business. Simple. And then finally, use mockups, data's a big one, and also case studies if you can have access to them. So things like, oh, this new layout is going to increase clicks by around 30 to 40% because of X, Y, and Z. Stuff like that. Clients will love hearing about how your design will work for them, why it's going to work, and not just that it looks good, because real clients who pay real money need to know that this design is going to work for them in the number game. And one really useful way I found of actually persuading and showing clients your thought process and how it's going to work for them is leveraging shape psychology. And this is really important in logo design too. For example, when I was working on a jiu-jitsu brand, I leveraged the idea of angled, strong, straight lines. And this psychology move helped my design appeal to the audience of jiu-jitsu. And it also created a strong, unified community for the brand. And this really helped me sell that idea to the client, and my design was approved pretty quickly. Here's a quick pro tip. Try and avoid using too much design jargon when you're selling your designs to your client. You need to be simple, concise, and pretty quick when you're doing it. You need to talk about results that they will see. So for example, this design will help people be more engaged and they will learn more from your product or your service. Just keep things really simple and relatable to their business goals and business needs. Now, hold up a minute. Don't get me wrong, a design still needs to look good. It still needs to have good aesthetics. But here's the thing. There is definitely a threshold of where your design needs to be in terms of aesthetics. If your design simply looks amateurish from a skill level, it's not going to be taken seriously by them. But of course, looking good, as I said before, is not the end goal. It's simply a baseline you kind of need to reach. Now, you can think of it like this. The aesthetics of the design are simply the packaging. They are the thing that's going to get the viewer interested and hooked originally. And from there, the true essence of the design will take over and will be effective after the initial hook. And so if you are just focusing on the aesthetics, you're only really focusing on that very thin layer outside of everything else that a design should be. And let's call out some other common mistakes that graphic designers do get themselves wrapped up in. And first up, we have over-designing. This can happen when a designer gets so caught up in trying to make a design look so good, so cool, so appealing, and they just end up losing the goal, losing the path entirely. This often leads to clarity being lost on the message and the design not solving a problem. And remember, creativity is great and essential, but it should never take over the end result of a design. You can also be creative in how you deliver that message too, remember. Second is a big one, and that is not actually involving your client in the process as you move along your process. If you're not getting their feedback step by step or a few steps by few steps, then you are setting yourself up for the dreaded, this isn't what I envisioned, this is not what I imagined or had in mind for my design. Of course, the client's words. And of course, next one is not aligning your design with the project goals. And this should go without saying, but it also probably should be said. If you cannot explain, demonstrate, or show how your design works for the brand, solves their problem, you've already lost pretty much. And so the brutal truth of corporate design where the money is made is that it's not about how good the design looks, it's how it works and how it functions. But remember, there is a baseline threshold of aesthetics and how good a design should appear to anybody else. And if you can learn how to sell your design, the concepts and ideas, then you set yourself up for such a higher win rate when it comes to winning a client's approval the other end. That skill, if you can master that skill, it will take you so much further than being the best designer in the room. It is really that simple. But let me know if any of this video resonates with you and if you've experienced any of these things in your very own graphic design workflow and career. This video is a more blunt, honest, and full-on video than my usual content, but if you do like this kind of content, let me know and I will make future videos just like this one. Oh, and of course, do click one of those videos on screen to keep your educational journey moving forward. And until next time, design your future today. Peace.